All right, we got the West Coast PPG champion right here. We got Juha Bach in the house. He's about to go over his King Vegeta, and this is the deck profile for the winner. Here we go.
All right, so I brought King Vegeta to the tournament. Shout out to a bunch of people everyone knows that I was testing Mechikabra, and then I went to PPG Miami and I kind of scrubbed out with it, and then everyone was telling me, dude, you're an aggro player, play King Vegeta, that deck is like perfect for you. And I was like, that deck is too expensive to make. I was just making all these excuses, but then like I tested it on Untap, and I was testing it with a bunch of people. I tested with Eddie, I tested with Eric, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Mo. Last name starts with an M. Mass Saiyan dude. Topped with Green Gohan. Best Green Gohan player. Mass Saiyan dude. You guys know who he is. I just forget how to pronounce his last name. But I was playtesting with him. Playtesting with Ryan from Topo Loco. Playtesting from Eddie. Playtesting with a bunch of different people. And the more I playtested with King Vegeta, the more I just really liked the way it played. I liked how aggressive it is. I like how spammy and oppressive it can be, and it's a BR deck. I always make BR decks because the Broly movie, I guess. Anytime they make a deck from that movie, I always make it. But,
okay, so what is, tell me about the leader. What does he do for the people that don't know?
Okay, so he begins the game with Young Invaders. So, and then when he swings, he looks up the top 5 and he grabs any red Saiyan from your deck. You're almost always grabbing your super combo.
Okay.
And then he awakens when either you or your opponent are at 4 life, and you take up to, if you're like at 7 life or 8 life, and they're at 4, you take life until you have 5 life. You untap 1, draw 1, and then on the awakened side, he reduces all the Young Invaders combo power by 1k, so they're all 5ks now. And then when he swings, he draws a card like a generic, and then once per turn, when something is negged, he can neg a battle card by 10k, and it has to be the first card that's the first neg trigger, basically. So as soon as you neg something, you automatically have to neg it. And then Young Invaders. So this is the field card that you start the game with. So it has 3 effects. The first effect is on your opponent's turn, you could play a Young Invader to your opponent's board at the beginning of their turn. And you can't play any non-red Saiyans for the turn. The second effect is you can take up to 1 life, and then you can play a Young Invader to your side of the field with their skills negated. And then its third effect is you can pay 1 red, and you can neg something by 5k, which triggers your leader, but you use it to get rid of Mass Saiyan.
Okay.
So you start with the Young Invaders.
All right.
So 2 Vegetas, 2 Raditz. The Vegeta is a better card than the Raditz, but the Raditz is needed to trigger the Gokus. I play 4 because, honestly, I'm not going to lie, this list was very, very heavily inspired by Andrew Duvall. And I feel like he had the ratios pretty on point for the deck, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So this seems like the right ratio.
Definitely. And I never had a point where there was one game in Top Cut when I ran out of babies, and that was the only game in the entire tournament when I ran out of babies. But the Vegeta, when you play it to your opponent's board, both of them have the same effect to where you create your opponent's life when you play them if they're at 5 or more, and then they draw a card. The Vegeta has unique, and if it stays, it can neg when you attack a battle card, a Unison, or their leader. The Vegeta negs it by 5k. So and the Vegeta has unique. So sometimes I will put when I'm going for game, I'll put the Vegeta on their field the turn before. If they combo it off, that's 1 less energy. If they leave it on the field, then that's minus 5k on my kill turn. And the Raditz is just there to trigger the Goku.
All right.
All right, and then we have this broken expensive promo, switching gears. If you don't have this is the new Broly Astonishing Potential. Like I said when I played Red Broly, if you don't have Astonishing Potential, don't play this deck. If you don't have this card, unfortunately, don't play this deck. I don't even have a playset myself. I was just borrowing this. Shout out to Seraphim's son for letting me borrow 1, and shout out to Mel and Josh for letting me borrow 2. So this card, you can play it for free. as long as either you or your opponent have a young invader. You bottom deck the young invader, then you bottom deck one card from your hand and you draw 2 cards. So this is a free attacker. It's a free fix your hand. There's been games where I draw some of my young invaders, and then you bottom deck the young invader on the field, and then to play him, and then you use his effect to bottom deck the other young invader, and then you draw 2 cards, so now your young invaders are back in your deck. You can only play one once per turn, but on turn 1 or turn 2, where you're really rushing your opponent realistically starts at 7 life, and then you just swing with this. This is literally a free attack, and then leader swing. That's basically most games you rush your opponent hard enough to where they start at 4 or less because of the way the young invaders are critting your opponent in the first 2 turns, and then you're free playing this guy to do another 10k attack.
All right.
And then this guy is the same thing as switching gears, except he costs an energy. And when you play him, he looks up the top 5 cards instead of bottom decking one to draw 2. He looks up the top 5, and he does the same thing as the leader. I almost always use it to grab a super combo. Sometimes if I don't draw switching gears on turn 1, I'll play this, and then I'll use it to grab switching gears. Swing with it, use young invader to play young invader on my field, play switching gears, swing again, and then you just build a big board and you just keep attacking. The Goku's the same thing as the Vegeta, except that to play him, you pay an energy and you bottom deck the Raditz. He's a 19k, and then at the end of the turn, when he activates blocker, he restands, so he's a dual blocker, and he's a 19k. So if you block the leader swing, they have to combo into it, and if they don't, it just restands and blocks another attack.
Amazing.
And now this is the Andrew Duvall special, the Bardock's crew package.
And what's so special about them? What is this doing?
Okay, so what's so special about these is it lets you really run down the opponent really hard, because they're 1-drop Red Saiyan. So you saw how I mentioned earlier that you play this for 1 energy and you play this for free. So on your turn 2, your opponent gets crit a life, so they start at 7. You play this for free. You can swing with this. That's a 10k swing. You play this, you swing. Obviously the order depends, but I'm just doing it as an example of how many attacks you can get. You swing with this, that's another attack. You play this guy, you swing, this is a 15k crit that, because you have 3 Saiyans, it negs something by 12k. So that's another 15k crit. Then you can play another one, swing again, now you neg something by 20k, it's another 15k crit. Your opponent is almost for sure guaranteed at 4 life. You can pay 1 to play another one, and then swing again. So this is all turn 2 on top on leader swing, on top of getting critted by the young invaders. The Borgos draws you a card. So basically, you can do some combination of these guys on turn 2 to get upwards of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, upwards of like 6 attacks on like turn 2, and it lets you really be aggressive with the deck. And then another Andrew Duvall special right here. I gotta give him a shout out for making this card playable, because I love this Jiren. Jiren is one of my favorite characters, so I'm really happy that I get to use a Jiren. So this Unison, you pay 3 energy for it. Its auto is when your opponent plays a battle card or Unison, you can neg it by 10k. And that works with the leader, because if your opponent plays something, you neg it by 10k, and then the leader negs it by another 10k. So that's a neg 20. His +1 is a 20k. He becomes a 20k double strike, which is relevant when you're going for a game, because usually when you're going for a game on turn 3 or 4, you between your new rulers, between your fighting against Fate and your Champas, you're just pressuring for constant double strikes, on top of the fact that they're most likely at 4 or less because of how much you pressured them in the early game. Once you have the Jiren established, it just becomes really hard for the opponent to kill you, because, like I said, you're just constantly negging their dudes. And he has a neg 3 activate battle that actually won me my game in my top 4 against Launch. He went all in. comboed his whole hand. This would have killed me. I didn't have enough to out combo. I did the neg 3 activate battle to neg it by 25, negged it by another 10, and then the battle card died, and then the game was over right there. 3 Yamchas because you play the 4 Jiren. I sided this out. If I was going second, I sided it out because I tended to play a more aggressive route, so I didn't really play the Jiren. But if I'm going first, I kept it. And when you between the Jiren, neg something by 10k, his activate neg 3, your leader's neg effect, and the Yamcha, it makes it ridiculously hard for any attack to go through, or for them to even have a board unless they're playing barrier.
All the other stuff that I need.
2 fighting against fate. Shout out to Kevin Queens for letting me borrow his fighting against fate since I sold mine. This card is obviously a game ender. It's a dual attack. It's a free dual attack. Most of the times, you just combo a Champa and you just kill them.
So you save this for the end. This is like a finisher for you.
There's been games where I drop 1 to clear the board because I know I can't win that turn because I have another one in my hand for my kill turn next turn.
Got you. Pretty good.
4 super combos. You search them with your leader. You search them with Vegeta, the 3-drop crit one. It's just on most of the time. I don't even awaken. Shout out to Eddie for this little tip. You just swing with leader for the first couple turns. Grab as many of these as you can, and don't awaken until you have 3 to 4 super combos in hand. And then between the Jiren, between the Yamchas, between other cards that I haven't gone over yet, this is makes you very, very unkillable. 2 double strikes. Andrew Duvall was only playing 1. I bumped it up to 2 after testing with Eddie because there was a game where I would have beaten him if I had another double strike, and I noticed that a lot of my games I closed out with this, so I wanted to see it more often. And also having 2 copies lets me early game play the Vegeta crit or the Bardock swing with it.